Welcome back to the channel, Rare Coins History, fellow coin hunters and collectors. If you're passionate about coins, history, and the thrill of finding hidden treasures in plain sight, then you're in the right place. Today, we're diving into one of the most iconic and beloved coins in American numismatic history, the United States 1-cent Lincoln Wheat Penny from the year 1952. You may have seen it, you may have handled it, but what you might not realize is that this tiny copper coin could potentially be worth a small fortune. Now, this isn't just any penny. The Lincoln Wheat Penny series holds a very special place in the hearts of collectors and historians alike. Minted between 1909 and 1958, these pennies were designed not just as currency, but as symbols of American pride, resilience, and progress. And while millions were made during those years, certain dates, conditions, and mint marks can dramatically raise the value of a single coin, and the 1952 version is no exception. Let's begin with the historical significance of this year. The year 1952 was a time of great change and optimism in the United States. World War II had ended less than a decade earlier, and the country was entering a new era of prosperity and industrial growth. The post-war economy was booming, families were settling into suburban life, and the Cold War was just beginning to shape global politics. During this transformative period, millions of pennies were minted and circulated every single day. But here's the thing, not all of them are created equal. The 1952 Lincoln Wheat Penny was produced at 3 U.S. mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint left its unique mark, literally, on the coins they struck. Coins from Philadelphia typically bear no mint mark, while those from Denver carry a D, and coins from San Francisco are marked with an S. These tiny letters, usually found just below the date, play a huge role in determining the coin's rarity and value. Let's talk about design for a moment. On the obverse side of the coin, you'll find the familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. This was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person's face, and who better than Lincoln, a symbol of honesty, leadership, and the fight for unity? Surrounding his profile are the words, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and, of course, the year, 1952. Flip the coin over, and you're met with a pair of stylized wheat stalks arching along the sides, hence the nickname, Wheat Penny. Between the stalks are the words, 1 cent, and United States of America, along with the Latin phrase, e pluribus unum, which means, out of many, one. This design, simple yet elegant, represents the strength and unity of the American people and remains one of the most cherished designs in U.S. coinage history. So what makes a 1952 Lincoln Wheat Penny stand out from the rest? First and foremost, condition. Collectors value coins that are in exceptional, uncirculated, or mint state condition. A coin that has been preserved without scratches, discoloration, or signs of wear is exponentially more desirable than one that has been passed through countless hands over the decades. These higher-grade coins are often graded by professional services such as PCGS or NGC and are labeled with a numerical grade from 1 to 70. Coins graded MS 65 or higher are considered gems and can fetch substantial prices in the collector's market, but that's not all. Rarity plays a massive role. While 1952 pennies were produced in large quantities, finding one today that is both rare and flawless is extremely difficult. And if your penny has a minting error? Well, then you're talking about a whole new level of value. Minting errors can occur for various reasons: double die strikes, off-center impressions, clipped planchets, or even die cracks. These small but noticeable flaws are like golden tickets for collectors. A 1952 penny with a well-documented error and in mint state can skyrocket in value, especially if it's certified authentic by a grading service. Some collectors have stumbled upon 1952 wheat pennies with doubling in the inscriptions or in Lincoln's features, a clear sign of a double die error. Others have reported finding coins with the D mint mark slightly misplaced or even partially missing. These small differences can make a world of difference when it comes to pricing. And let's not forget about provenance. If your coin has a known history, was part of a famous collection, or has been sold at a reputable auction house in the past, its value can increase dramatically. Collectors love a good story behind their finds, and a coin that's been through the hands of notable numismatists or featured in well-known auctions will always be more desirable than one without a traceable history. Now, here's the part you've all been waiting for, the value reveal. If you happen to own a 1952 Lincoln Wheat Penny in pristine, uncirculated condition, especially with a rare mint error or a low mintage variety, you could be holding onto a serious piece of treasure. And if that penny is graded highly by a trusted certification company and includes any type of minting anomaly or historical rarity, it could be worth up to $55,000, yes, you heard that right. 1 cent. Potentially worth $55,000. All because of a few factors coming together: condition, rarity, mint mark, and history. So the next time you're digging through a jar of old change, or you stumble across a forgotten penny tucked away in a drawer or coin album, don't overlook it. Give it a close look, check the date, check the mint mark, and examine its condition. That small copper coin could be a hidden fortune waiting to be discovered. Today, we're shining the spotlight on a truly fascinating piece of American coinage history, the 1954 Lincoln Wheat Penny, a humble copper coin that might just be worth a surprising amount of money today. That's right. What looks like an ordinary 1-cent piece could actually be a hidden gem, and if you stick with us until the end of this video, you'll find out just how much this 1954 penny might fetch in today's market. It's more than most people would ever guess. So let's dig deep into this penny's story, because every coin has a tale to tell. The Lincoln Wheat Penny was introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, and it was the first time a real person, let alone a former president, was ever featured on a U.S. circulating coin. From that moment on, the Lincoln cent became an icon. It carried with it not just monetary value, but symbolic meaning. For collectors, each year and each mint variation tells a different chapter of American history, and the 1954 wheat penny is no exception. Now, the year 1954 was an interesting time in America. The country was still riding the wave of post-World War II optimism, but the Cold War had taken hold, tensions were rising globally, and the U.S. was rapidly transforming into a technological and economic superpower. Within this atmosphere of change and growth, the U.S. Mint continued its mission of producing billions of coins to keep up with the booming economy, and among them was the 1954 Lincoln Wheat Penny. These pennies were minted at 3 locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D, and San Francisco, S. Each mint struck coins that looked nearly identical to the untrained eye, but to collectors, the difference in mint marks can drastically affect rarity and value. The 1954 D penny was produced in large quantities, and so was the 1954 S. However, the condition of the coin plays a massive role in determining whether you've got something that's merely worth a penny, or something that could be worth thousands. And as for the Philadelphia issue, which has no mint mark at all, that one is especially interesting because fewer of those survive today in pristine, uncirculated condition compared to their counterparts. Let's talk design. The obverse side of the coin, of course, features the profile of Abraham Lincoln, still etched into the minds of millions today. His portrait is strong and solemn, a symbol of leadership and integrity. The inscriptions, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the year 1954 surround his likeness. Flip it over and you'll find 2 wheat ears curving inward from the edges, framing the words, 1 cent, and United States of America. The Latin phrase, e pluribus unum, sits proudly above, meaning, out of many, one. This wheat design was eventually replaced in 1959 with the Lincoln Memorial reverse, making all wheat pennies, especially those from the early to mid-50s, highly sought after by collectors today. They represent the end of an era and carry a charm and historical richness that modern coins simply can't replicate. But what turns an old penny into a treasure? There are 3 main factors: condition, rarity, and uniqueness. First, condition is king. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale, with higher grades indicating less wear and better preservation. A 1954 penny that's been through circulation and shows heavy wear might only be worth a few cents. But a penny that has been kept in perfect condition, sharp details, original luster, no scratches or discoloration, that coin can enter a whole different level of value. especially if it's been certified by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC. Second, rarity. While many 1954 pennies were made, especially in Denver and San Francisco, finding ones that have survived nearly 7 decades without any wear is much harder than it seems. Most were used and abused in daily transactions, bought candy, paid taxes, rode in the pockets of war veterans and working-class Americans alike. So finding one in mint state, untouched by time, is increasingly rare and incredibly valuable. Then comes the third ingredient, uniqueness. This is where mint errors enter the picture. Minting errors are anomalies that occur during the coin production process. These include double dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, and repunched mint marks. For example, some 1954 D pennies have been found with a repunched mint mark, where the D was stamped more than once, slightly offset, creating a doubling effect. These small mistakes actually make the coin more desirable, because they are unique and limited in number. Collectors go crazy for mint errors, and they are willing to pay a premium to add these one-of-a-kind specimens to their collections. Imagine having a coin that only a few people in the world have ever seen in that particular form. That's the kind of scarcity that drives prices through the roof, and if all these qualities, flawless condition, rare mint variation, and a dramatic minting error, are found in a single 1954 wheat penny, that's when you hit the jackpot. Some coins have surfaced over the years with such rare traits, authenticated and graded at near-perfect condition. These coins often end up at major auctions, commanding bids that blow people's minds. They get featured in collector magazines, coin expos, and even national news stories. Because what most see as a regular penny is, in fact, a miniature artifact with tremendous historical and monetary value. So how do you know if you've got one of these valuable 1954 pennies? Start by checking the mint mark below the year. Look for D, S, or no mark. Then check for any visible doubling in the letters or date. Examine the coin's color, texture, and sharpness under good lighting or even a magnifying glass. And if you think you might have something special, don't hesitate to get it evaluated by a professional, because now comes the moment you've been waiting for. If you are lucky enough to own a 1954 Lincoln wheat penny that has been graded in near-perfect condition, especially one with a rare mint error, your coin could be worth up to $60,000, yes, $60,000. That's 6 followed by 4 zeros, all from a single copper coin minted over 70 years ago. It's not a dream, it's not hype. It's a reality in the world of serious coin collectors. So the next time you pick up a penny, don't just toss it aside. Take a good look. That simple little coin might carry more value, history, and uniqueness than you ever imagined. And who knows? It could be the beginning of a whole new journey into the fascinating world of coin collecting. Today, we're diving deep into a coin that millions of people have held in their hands without ever knowing its hidden potential. The United States of America 1-cent Lincoln wheat penny from the year 1956. Now, before you brush off that old jar of pennies sitting in your closet or dismiss the ones buried in the glove compartment of your car, let me tell you this: what you might think is just an old, worn-out cent could actually be a high-value collectible. You're about to discover why this 1956 penny is not just a piece of pocket change. It's a portal into American history and a possible jackpot for the lucky few who own one in the right condition. Let's rewind the clock and go back to 1956. America was thriving in the post-war boom. It was the era of Elvis Presley, the rise of television, the Cold War, and the start of the interstate highway system. In this optimistic and fast-changing period, the U.S. Mint continued its mission of producing coins to fuel the country's economic expansion. Among the billions of coins produced that year was a small, copper-colored cent that quietly entered circulation, the Lincoln wheat penny, bearing the date 1956. What made the Lincoln wheat penny series so special, especially the 1956 issue, is that it was among the final years of this iconic design. The wheat ears on the reverse side would be replaced just a few years later in 1959 by the Lincoln Memorial, which marked the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. So, every wheat penny from the late 1950s carries a sense of finality and historical closure. But the 1956 issue has more than just symbolism on its side. It also has scarcity. desirability, and in some rare cases, staggering value. First, let's talk about the design. On the front of the coin, also known as the obverse, we see the famous right-facing profile of President Abraham Lincoln. This image, created by sculptor Victor David Brenner, was the first portrait of a real American to appear on a circulating coin. Surrounding Lincoln are the words, "In God We Trust," at the top, "Liberty," to the left, and the date, 1956, on the right. Just beneath the year, you may notice a small letter, that's the mint mark, and it tells us which U.S. mint facility struck the coin. For 1956, there were two main versions of the penny, one with no mint mark, meaning it was struck in Philadelphia, and another with a D mint mark, meaning it came from the Denver Mint. While neither of these were considered rare at the time, millions were produced in both locations. The condition of the coin, and whether it carries any special characteristics or mint errors, is what truly makes it valuable today. Turn the coin over and you'll find two stylized wheat ears curving along each side of the coin, framing the inscriptions, 1 cent and United States of America. Above that is the Latin phrase, e pluribus unum, meaning, out of many, one. This iconic wheat reverse, used from 1909 to 1958, is a favorite among collectors for its vintage simplicity and historical richness. Now let's get to the good stuff. What makes a 1956 penny worth more than just 1 cent? There are three golden pillars that determine the value of a coin like this: condition, mint mark rarity, and the presence of mint errors or anomalies. Let's start with condition, which is the most crucial factor. A heavily circulated penny from 1956, worn down with scratches, discoloration, or dings, might only be worth a few cents to a collector. But a coin that has been carefully preserved in its original state, a coin that still gleams with its original luster and shows no signs of wear, can be extremely valuable. These uncirculated coins are typically graded by professionals using a 70-point scale. Coins that grade MS 65 or higher, that's mint state, are considered top tier and often command high prices in the collector's market. Next, we move on to the mint mark and rarity. While both Philadelphia and Denver mints produced millions of pennies in 1956, not all of them are easy to find today in pristine condition. Some specific 1956 D pennies are known for having particular features that make them more desirable to collectors, especially if they fall under our third category, minting errors. Now here's where things get really interesting. A minting error is when something goes wrong during the coin production process, resulting in a unique, flawed coin. Some of the most famous errors include double die obverse, where the date, lettering, or even Lincoln's face appears slightly doubled due to a misaligned strike. Others include off-center strikes, die cracks, or repunched mint marks, often abbreviated as RPM, where the D mint mark was stamped more than once in slightly different positions. Collectors absolutely love error coins. Not only are they visually distinct, but they're also incredibly rare. Every error tells a story. It's a mistake that slipped through the cracks of the mint's rigorous quality control and survived to be discovered by keen-eyed collectors decades later. A 1956 wheat penny with a clear and dramatic error, especially in uncirculated condition, can become the crown jewel of someone's collection. So how do you find out if your 1956 penny is one of the rare and valuable ones? Start by examining it closely. Use a magnifying glass to look for signs of doubling in the date or lettering. Check if the mint mark looks off or has been stamped more than once. Observe the overall condition, look for sharp edges, clean surfaces, and that beautiful copper red color that indicates minimal wear. And if you think you've got something special, send it in to be professionally graded and authenticated. That step can be the difference between having an ordinary penny, or a coin worth thousands. But now, let's get to the grand finale, the value reveal you've been waiting for. If you happen to own a 1956 Lincoln wheat penny with a mint mark, in superb uncirculated condition, especially one with a verified mint error such as a repunched mint mark or double die, then you might just be holding onto a coin that could fetch $64,000 in today's collector market. Yes, $64,000. For a single penny. Isn't that incredible? A coin originally worth 1 cent, now valued at more than what most people make in a year, all because of its condition, uniqueness, and rarity. And stories like these are not just myths. There are real, documented cases of 1956 pennies being sold at auctions and private sales for enormous amounts, especially when they've been professionally graded and verified. So, next time you're sorting through your loose change, checking a coin jar, or cleaning out an old drawer, don't ignore those pennies, especially ones with dates from the 1950s. They could be worth far more than you ever imagined. Today, we're unlocking the story of a coin that has quietly traveled through the pockets of American history, the 1948 Lincoln Wheat Penny. Now, this isn't just any old penny. It's one that could potentially be worth a life-changing amount of money, but only if you know what to look for. So before you toss that copper coin aside or ignore that handful of change you got from the corner store, stick around. Because somewhere out there, in old jars, drawers, or dusty albums, there's a 1948 penny waiting to be discovered. And it just might be worth far more than you think. Let's begin with the time period, 1948. Post-World War II America was rebuilding, booming, and shifting into a new era. The war had ended only a few years earlier, and the country was experiencing rapid economic growth. Soldiers were returning home, suburbs were expanding, families were growing, and the American dream was in full motion. In this atmosphere of transformation, coins minted during these years carried more than just monetary value. They became time capsules of an evolving nation. One of the most common coins in circulation during that time was the Lincoln Wheat Penny, a design that began back in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. This coin was special from the beginning. It was the first circulating U.S. coin to feature a real person, and Lincoln's profile has been featured ever since. The 1948 Lincoln Wheat Penny followed the same classic design. On the front, or obverse, you'll see the solemn, dignified face of Lincoln looking to the right. Around him, the words, "In God We Trust," above, "Liberty," to the left, and the year, 1948, etched boldly on the right. But look closely just beneath the date, and you might see a small letter. That's the mint mark, and it tells you where the coin was made. In 1948, pennies were produced at two main U.S. mints, Philadelphia, which placed no mint mark on the coins, and Denver, which marked theirs with a D. There were no San Francisco minted wheat pennies that year, which is a notable detail for collectors. Now, flip the coin to the reverse side, and you're met with a pair of stylized wheat ears arching from each edge of the coin, framing the central inscriptions, 1 cent, and United States of America. Above it all, the Latin phrase, e pluribus unum, which translates to, out of many, one, proudly sits, reflecting the unity of the American people. Though this design might seem simple by today's standards, for collectors, it's iconic. It symbolizes a time when pennies could actually buy something, candy, a soda, or a ride on a streetcar. The wheat penny era ended in 1958, replaced by the Lincoln Memorial Reverse in 1959. But coins from the 40s and 50s are now treasured pieces of American numismatic history. But let's get to the part that gets everyone's attention. Why is the 1948 Lincoln Wheat Penny potentially worth so much? It all comes down to three key factors: condition, rarity, and errors or special features. These three elements can transform an ordinary penny into a prized collectible. Let's start with condition. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 representing a flawless, uncirculated coin. Most 1948 pennies that you'll find in change jars or old drawers are circulated, worn down from decades of use. These are usually worth only a few cents, or maybe $1 or $2 if in decent shape, but here's the twist: if your 1948 penny is in mint state, meaning it has never been in circulation and shows no signs of wear, its value can skyrocket. A coin that still shines with its original luster, with sharp details and crisp edges, is incredibly rare. Even more so if it has been graded MS-65 or higher by a trusted grading service like PCGS or NGC. Next comes rarity. Although millions of pennies were minted in 1948, not many survived in pristine condition. Time, handling, environmental exposure, all these factors slowly wear down coins. That's why uncirculated 1948 pennies, especially those with strong strikes and clean surfaces, are in high demand. Collectors are constantly on the hunt for coins that look like they were just struck yesterday, even though they're over 75 years old, and now we get to the game changer, mint errors and unique features. Sometimes during the minting process, things go wrong. A die might shift slightly. A letter might be punched twice. The coin might strike off center, or the metal might be clipped. These minting errors are not flaws, they're golden opportunities for collectors. They make a coin unique, sometimes one of a kind. And that rarity, combined with curiosity and aesthetic value, sends prices soaring. With 1948 Lincoln Wheat Pennies, some of the most valuable examples have featured doubling in the date or lettering, known as a double die error. Others have shown repunched mint marks, particularly on 1948 D pennies. There have even been coins discovered with planchet issues, where the metal was imperfect before striking. These small variations may seem insignificant, but to collectors, they're like finding buried treasure. Now imagine combining all three factors: a 1948 Lincoln Wheat Penny with a mint mark, in mint state condition, and with a verified mint error. That's when the true value starts to emerge. If you think you might have one of these coins, don't let it sit in a box gathering dust. Get a magnifying glass, examine the details carefully. Look for doubling on the numbers and letters. Check if the mint mark looks odd or shifted. If it seems unique or too clean to be true, it might be time to have it graded and authenticated. Because the difference between a regular old penny and a rare collector's item is all in the details. And now, here's the moment you've been waiting for. If you are fortunate enough to own a 1948 Lincoln Wheat Penny, especially with a D mint mark, in superb, uncirculated condition, and carrying a minting error or repunched mark, it could be worth up to a staggering $69,000 in today's collector market. Yes, you heard that right, $69,000. 1 cent turned into $69,000. That's not fiction, that's the magic of coin collecting. These aren't just metal discs, they are pieces of history, snapshots of America frozen in copper, and for some, golden tickets to a small fortune. So the next time you're sorting through loose change or cleaning out old keepsakes, take a moment to really look at those pennies. Because hidden among them just might be a coin that tells a story worth thousands. Today, you're about to uncover the fascinating story of a coin that many have seen, most have ignored, and only a few have truly understood. We're talking about the 1942 Lincoln Wheat Penny, a small copper coin that might be sitting unnoticed in a jar or drawer near you, yet could be worth an amount that's truly jaw-dropping. So if you've ever wondered whether old pennies can actually be worth big money, the answer is a resounding yes. But here's the catch: not all old pennies are created equal. And the 1942 Lincoln Wheat Penny is one of those coins that proves just how valuable a seemingly ordinary cent can become under the right circumstances. Let's go back in time to the year 1942. It was a turning point in American and world history. The United States had just entered World War II after the attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941. Factories across the nation were shifting from civilian production to military supplies. Rationing, sacrifice, and national unity defined the era. Even coin production was affected. While steel pennies wouldn't be introduced until 1943, the mints were already planning changes, and every coin minted during this time was part of a greater effort to conserve resources for the war. And amid this historic backdrop, the 1942 Lincoln Wheat Penny was struck. On the surface, it might look like any other penny. It's copper. It's small. It has Lincoln's familiar face on the obverse side and the iconic wheat ears on the reverse. But as we're about to discover, certain versions of this coin, especially in exceptional condition or with specific mint marks and errors, can be worth far, far more than 1 cent. Let's start with the design. On the obverse, we see the strong, timeless image of President Abraham Lincoln, gazing to the right. The words, "In God We Trust," are inscribed above him, liberty sits to his left, and the date, 1942, appears on the right. Look carefully just beneath the year. If you spot a small letter, it's the mint mark, and it can dramatically impact a coin's value. There were 3 types of 1942 pennies based on mint location: no mint mark, produced in Philadelphia; D mint mark, produced in Denver; and S mint mark, produced in San Francisco. Each of these coins carries its own value, and the rarest, cleanest, and most pristine examples are what collectors dream about. While hundreds of millions were minted, only a small number have survived to this day in gem-quality condition. And when you add in the possibility of a minting error or special feature, the value increases dramatically. Now flip the coin over, and you'll see the classic reverse design, 2 wheat stalks framing the inscriptions, 1 cent and United States of America. This reverse design was used from 1909 to 1958 and is one of the most beloved in American coinage history. It's simple, elegant, and deeply symbolic of American agriculture, resilience, and productivity, especially during wartime. So what exactly makes a 1942 penny valuable? It all comes down to 3 powerful factors: condition, rarity, and unique characteristics like minting errors. First, condition is everything. Most coins you find in circulation have been used for decades, scratched, worn down, oxidized. But a 1942 penny that has remained in mint condition, bright, uncirculated, with full luster and sharp detail, is incredibly rare. These coins are typically found in old coin rolls, forgotten collections, or inherited albums passed down from earlier generations. If your coin is in mint state 65 or higher, certified by a grading authority like PCGS or NGC, you've already got something special. Second, rarity plays a huge role. While many 1942 pennies were struck, not many have survived in top-grade condition. In fact, coins with strong strike quality, no contact marks, and original red luster are few and far between. Among collectors, even small population differences can result in massive jumps in value. A coin with 100 examples in circulation might be worth hundreds, but if only 10 exist in near-perfect condition, the price soars. And third, we come to the real excitement: minting errors and anomalies. These are what truly sets certain coins apart. Some 1942 pennies have been discovered with double die obverse errors, where the date and lettering appear slightly doubled due to a misalignment during minting. Others show repunched mint marks, especially on the Denver and San Francisco coins, where the mint mark was stamped twice in slightly different positions. Even rarer are coins struck on the wrong planchet, metal meant for a different denomination entirely, or coins that were only partially struck, off-center, or have noticeable die cracks. To the untrained eye, these may look like imperfections. But to a collector, they represent one-of-a-kind pieces that can fetch enormous prices in auctions and private sales. Another interesting variant is the transition from copper to steel pennies, which happened in 1943. While 1942 pennies were still copper, some experimental pieces from that era, made of alternative materials, may have been struck and released by mistake. If found and verified, these ultra-rare test pieces could be worth a fortune. So how do you know if your 1942 penny is valuable? Start by inspecting it closely. Use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe to check for doubling, oddities in the mint mark, or signs of unusual wear or striking. Is it shiny and untouched? Is the detail sharp, especially around Lincoln's jaw, beard, and coat? Is the wheat on the reverse crisp, or worn down? If your coin checks all the boxes, mint mark, condition, potential errors, it's time to take the next step and send it in for professional grading. A certificate of authenticity and a strong mint state grade can increase the coin's value dramatically. It also makes your coin eligible for high-level collector auctions, where the true price of rarity is revealed. And now, after everything we've learned about the history, design, rarity, and collector demand, here is the moment you've been waiting for. If you happen to own a 1942 Lincoln wheat penny, with a mint mark, in flawless uncirculated condition, and featuring a certified mint error, you could be holding a coin worth as much as $82,000. Yes, that's right, $82,000. From a 1-cent piece that most people overlook. A penny that's been through history, yet somehow survived untouched, with secrets hidden in its fine details. That's the magic of coin collecting. It's not just about metal. It's about history. It's about rarity. It's about the thrill of discovering that something seemingly small can have enormous value. So go ahead, check your pocket change. Dig into that old coin collection. take a second look at every 1942 penny you come across. Because one of them could be more than just change, it could be your next great find. Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive into the mysterious and potentially valuable world of the 1942 Lincoln wheat penny. If you enjoyed the journey and want to uncover more hidden coin treasures, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. We're just getting started with the incredible stories behind America's forgotten coins. Until next time, keep looking, stay curious, and as always, happy collecting.